What's such a boy for another reaction? In today's video, we have Who Killed the NFL Attitude Era by Sideline Archive. That's a good name, the NFL Attitude Era, the 2000s.
The NFL used to be more extreme, but so did everything.
And he's going to come up short.
Between 1998 and 2006, the world was chaos. America, getting to grips with the World Wide Web, saw mainstream culture turn towards the extreme. Violence permeated all forms of media, from Jackass to Jerry Springer, from Grand Theft Auto to the heyday of the WWF. Every time you turned on your TV set, you were encouraged to break stuff. And the NFL was no...
That's a good video already. Let me get this shit a like. I like it. I'm eating. Why this video only got 8K views? And this is highly edited. This is a good video. I don't like how this bitch barely got views.
different. It was violent, edgy, larger than life. This was the age of big hits, bigger personalities, trash talking, cheerleaders, celebrations, neck rolls, tinted visors, and highlight reels that took 20 minutes to load in 240p. You remember the 10-minute big hit compilations on YouTube, expertly trimmed to killing in the name of? It was Sports Center, American Pie, NFL Street, Jacked Up. It was in your face, no holds barred, must-see TV, all set to a Slim Shady soundtrack. But how did it happen? And where did it go? This is the full investigation into an era of the NFL you will never see again, and for good reason. This was the NFL's Attitude Era. But first, we got to go back to the calm before the storm, a time of clean-cut QBs, Zubaz pants, and insanely cheesy commercials.
Montana. Hey, Marino.
You make a choice because it feels right.
Can I buy you one? It's the least you can do. Joe, next year, I'm buying.
Diet Pepsi, the one-calorie choice of a new generation.
Since the NFL-AFL merger in 1966, the league has been defined by the ground game. Its earliest marketable stars were workhorse rushers. You're talking about O.J. Simpson with his 2,000-yard season in 1973, Walter Payton carrying Chicago, Franco Harris in Pittsburgh, Earl Campbell in Houston. Still in the shadow of the Vietnam War, the NFL sold grit, toughness, and the myth of the indestructible American running back. But in 1978, everything changed. That year, the league loosened restrictions on offensive linemen and limited defensive contact with receivers to 5 yards beyond the line of scrimmage. And the results were immediate. If you look at 1977, Buffalo's Joe Ferguson led the NFL in passing with just 2,803 yards. One season later, Fran Tarkenton pushed the envelope to 3,468. The passing door had been kicked wide open, and the new era's poster boy emerged pretty quickly as a fuzzy-haired kid out of Pitt named Dan Marino, who launched for 5,000 yards in just his second season, a figure that was inconceivable just 5 years earlier. And alongside him came a wave of clean-cut quarterbacks with golden arms, John Elway, Jim Kelly, Warren Moon, and then later Drew Bledsoe, Aikman, and Favre. The NFL of the late 1980s and early 90s was polished, it was professional, and suddenly, very marketable. Corporate America took notice. The new faces of the NFL could be quarterbacks, yes, but also salesmen. Cheesy commercials and glossy endorsements flooded TV screens, transforming the gridiron stars into gridiron gentlemen.
All it takes is a little teamwork, and it can be a lot of fun.
Pepsi and Diet Coke wanted them, Starter and Nike wanted them. The NFL itself, through a surge of licensed apparel, packaged them as all-American icons, modern but safe and traditional.
Isotoner gloves.
In catalogs and commercials, they were just as likely to be seen in denim jackets as...
Bring back them jackets, like, bro. Mike Rubin ruined the NFL apparel.
Shoulder pads. Between the lines, it was warfare. But off the field, it was product placement. This was the NFL at its commercial peak, perfectly in step with the optimism and consumption boom of America in the early 1990s. But markets shift, and so does culture. The sportswear bubble swelled and burst. The polished optimism of the early 90s gave way to late-decade anxiety. With the Y2K bug looming, an undercurrent of cultural restlessness began to swell. And as the mood shifted, so too did the NFL's cast of characters. By 1999, the old guard was vanishing. John Elway rode off into the sunset after back-to-back Super Bowl wins and one iconic helicopter spin. Within a year, Steve Young and Dan Marino joined him in Valhalla, and the once mighty Cowboys dynasty, now held together by bubblegum and hope, fell apart. Troy Aikman, battered by injuries, hung it up in 2001. And suddenly, the league's bankable stars were all gone. The cultural direction was up for grabs. What followed was something altogether different. As the new millennium dawned, the NFL, like the nation itself, shifted gears into a very different era. But before the next chapter of the NFL can make any sense, we have to zoom out. To understand where football was headed, we first need to investigate the faint thump of new metal and the distant growl of Limp Bizkit approaching slowly over the horizon.
And a lot of it's because all these people that think they're so good are causing people to feel outcasted. They feel like if everything I like is bad, you know, I'm going nowhere.
By the late 90s, from Detroit to Denver, NFL fans were booting up home computers, discovering email, and dipping their toes into message boards and chat rooms. The internet was raw, it was unfiltered and wide open. This new mass information highway changed everything. Ideas, images, and media could spread instantly. And what spread fastest? What do you think? The extreme. Violence, gore, shock, and sexuality. The internet's early culture was chaotic.
Oh, Heaven Gate. Ugh.
And confrontational. It was a mirror for the turbulence bubbling across America. Industries rushed to cash in, selling exaggerated versions of masculinity as a form of rebellion. But what does that mean? American Pie is what that means. MTV, Jackass, Grand Theft Auto is what that means. The Jerry Springer Show, Korn, Limp Bizkit. And nowhere was this mix of corporate excess and combustible energy more visible than Woodstock 99. What was meant to be a revival of peace and love collapsed into one of the most infamous festivals in history. By the end of the weekend, the site was looted and set.
Yeah, then a woman was in great and that shit they said. Yeah, that was crazy.
Ablaze. It was a symbol of late 90s America at its most volatile, angry, hyper-commercial and ready to explode. In entertainment, this hunger for danger and spectacle crystallized in pro wrestling. The WWF, losing ratings to its rival WCW, shed its cartoonish heroes and kid-friendly tone. Out went the Technicolor spandex of Hulk Hogan, and in walked the Attitude Era. Stone Cold Steve Austin flipped off his boss, The Rock's trash talk poetry, it worked. Ratings soared and the WWF became the hottest property on cable, perfectly attuned to America's appetite for content that was raw, unpredictable, and unfiltered. And so, by the dawn of the millennium, the stage was set. The culture demanded shock, excess, and larger-than-life personalities. And the NFL could not escape the pull of the moment. With its old icons retiring and its rules still rewarding physical punishment, football began to echo the outside world. It became violent, theatrical, and unapologetically bold. The NFL, willingly or not, was about to enter its own Attitude Era.
The draw to Bettis. Oh, what a hit.
Well, defense still wins championships to this day.
Huh?
At the 45-yard line by Brian Dawkins.
As the ball dropped on Y2K, the NFL was changing.
Brian Dawkins, boy.
The polished stars of the 1990s were gone, and in their absence, the league hardened. This was no longer the glossy denim jacket NFL of Aikman, Marino, and Elway. Without its icons to sell the product, the game itself became more sharply into focus. It was brutal, unforgiving, and aligned perfectly with an America that craved danger, excess, and edge. I mean, look at Any Given Sunday, a film pulling back the curtain on what professional football truly was, arrived at exactly the same time. Its commercial success only fueling the appetite for grittier, realer NFL, warts and all. And what returned was the NFL of old, an NFL defined by running backs. With a young Peyton Manning dueling Jeff Garcia and Elvis Grbac for the passing title, little wonder passing numbers suffered. Let's look at 2000. Just 3 quarterbacks cracked 4,000 yards. And by contrast, 23 running backs eclipsed 1,000 rushing yards, same season. It's a testament to how offenses had shifted back to the ground and pound survival. Smash mouth football was back. It was the Wild West, and the birth of the defense wins championships era. Defenses became mythic. The 2000 Baltimore Ravens, led by Ray Lewis, Tony Siragusa, and Rod Woodson, allowed just 165 points all season. The stingiest 16-game defense ever, en route to a Super Bowl victory. It was a completely different league, one where maybe you didn't need a quarterback, and if you did, it only had to be Trent Dilfer. 2 years later,
Oh yeah, that was that nigga was true. But hopefully Lamar could win. Bro, Lamar had the defense in 2023. He had it. Them niggas just choked to the Chiefs. They had the defense, bro.
Tampa Bay followed the same blueprint. Derek Brooks, Warren Sapp, and Rondé Barber dismantled the Raiders at the Super Bowl. And like pro wrestling, defenders became characters as much as players. Brian Dawkins morphed into Weapon X, emerging from the tunnels like a comic book villain. Ray Lewis turned the pregame into a theater piece. Warren Sapp and Joey Porter worked the mic like WWF heels. Rodney Harrison blurred the line between feared enforcer and dirty player. This was footballers' performance art. Violence and intimidation just part of the show. Even offenses were pulled into the aesthetic. It was the era of the fullback. Mike Allstott and Lorenzo Neal with huge shoulder pads and tinted visors. The players became larger than life. Because you got to remember, the NFL was competing in the same cultural marketplace as new metal, Limp Bizkit, Jackass, WWF Attitude. Spectacle mattered just as much as the outcome.
That name keep frying me, Limp Bizkit. I'm pretty sure that's a band, but what the fuck is that name, Limp Bizkit?
I mean, the short-lived XFL, born in 2001, proved just how far the appetite of a violent, personality-driven football could stretch. Yes, it was a failure, but it's very
That show was ran by Vince McMahon, I'm pretty sure.
existence spoke volumes about the moment. Highlight reels stitched together on Windows Movie Maker flooded early internet message boards, glorifying the most vicious hits. And ESPN cashed in too with SportsCenter's infamous Jacked Up segment.
Oh, yeah, Jacked Up.
And all this was the first wave of the NFL's Attitude Era. A league defined by defense, fueled by violence, and perfectly in tune with a culture that demanded chaos. But no era in football lasts forever. As the hits piled up and the internet amplified every highlight, the pendulum began to swing back. And what came next wasn't a retreat from spectacle, it was a evolution. The quarterback's return, the deep ball came roaring back, and with it, a new kind of showmanship.
And see, they don't throw that many deep balls in the new NFL. That's why these cornerbacks now don't get as many interceptions. For niggas always, man, why these new cornerbacks don't get a lot of interceptions? These niggas don't get a lot of interceptions because niggas not throwing deep no more.
The second act of the NFL's Attitude Era wasn't just about the long ball. It was about talking louder, celebrating harder, and turning Sundays into must-see TV. And everything changed on one snowy night in Foxborough in 2004.
Gillette Stadium is alive and kicking for today's AFC Championship between Indianapolis and New England. The Colts are great road warriors at 8-1. The Patriots perfect at home at 9-0. But all that matters is what happens here today. One of these teams is 60 minutes from the Super Bowl.
January 18th, 2004. It was supposed to be Peyton Manning's coronation. Instead, it was the opening act in a rivalry that would come to define the NFL for the coming decade. The Colts had bulldozed their way through the postseason with the most dangerous passing attack in the league, Marvin Harrison, Reggie Wayne, and to a lesser extent, Brandon Stokely. It was a precise passing symphony orchestrated by the Sheriff. Peyton Manning entering the height of his powers. But as the snow fell on Foxborough in the AFC Championship game, the Patriots' defense strangled them. Because after all, every sheriff has to answer to the law.
Now on a roll and throws, and it is intercepted. Ty Law picks it off.
Ty Law grabbed, shoved, and blanketed every route. Rodney Harrison hammered receivers across the middle. Corners held past 5 yards.
Look at the niggas this man Tom Brady had on defense. Ty Law and Rodney Harrison game. This man, I'm telling you, this nigga Tom Brady always had a good ass defense, bro.
Safeties knocked guys to the ground before the ball even arrived, and officials swallowed their whistles.
Manning with time over the middle, and that's complete. Number Number 87 is Reggie Wayne, and it's enough for a first down.
By the end of the night, Manning had thrown 4 interceptions. Harrison had 19 yards, and the Colts' high-powered offense looked broken. It was football at its most physical, a masterclass in defensive intimidation. Across the country, in the NFC Championship game, the Panthers' defense employed the same smash-mouth tactics against the Eagles' receivers. After all, defense wins championships. But not for long.
It was, a big emphasis point in the game for us to make it a physical game in terms of jamming the receivers and tackling. The Colts have a lot of explosive players that can take short.
In the aftermath, Colts president Bill Polian was furious. To him, New England had exposed a loophole in the rulebook that made it literally impossible for the Indy receivers to function. At the next competition committee meeting, he demanded change. And he got it. The league cracked down on its physical cornerbacks, tightened up illegal contact enforcement, and instructed referees to call defensive holding and pass interference with far more consistency. And just like that, overnight, the NFL...
You got niggas now like Brian Branch, niggas getting 100K, nigga got 100K worth of fines for hits, like, bro.
Shifted. Passing lanes opened, timing routes returned, and quarterbacks suddenly had breathing room. The very next season, 2004, passing numbers exploded. Dante Culpepper threw for nearly 5,000 yards, Peyton Manning threw a then-record 49 touchdowns, and the Eagles, bullied off the park by the Panthers' suffocatingly physical defense in the NFC Championship, went shopping. Terrell Owens became an Eagle.
Welcome y'all to Mile High Theater, starring no one other than myself.
The 2004 rule changes effectively eliminated the true physical cornerback. And as the butterfly flaps its wings, the death of the physical cornerback bred a new type of wide receiver, one equipped to carry the league into its new era of attitude. They were speedy, trash-talking, untouchable. By then, Terrell Owens was famous for his extra...
God damn, Tio, is slobbering and shit. Like, you got rebees, chill, fam.
Curricular activities. His celebration on the Dallas Star in 2000 marking the beginning of a Hall of Fame resume of celebrations. But leaving his Sharpie and pom-poms in San Francisco, with the rule changes and change of scenery, T.O. seemed to come out of himself. He weaponized the touchdown celebration, forcing the NFL to either police him or embrace the theater. Fans booed him, fans cheered him, but everybody watched. The NFL had pulled the leash on its defenses. With cornerbacks and safeties forbidden from decapitating receivers, there was no threat of punishment. And so the middle of the field was wide open for business. And the golden age of the diva receiver began. Because receivers have always been playmakers, but now they were free to become showmen. Every touchdown was guaranteed airtime. Every celebration became a stage. If defenders...
What the nigga, what's his name? Keon Johnson? Give me the fucking ball. That little nigga Chad Mog and shit, nigga like a model.
had been the villains of the first Attitude Era, then receivers were the rock stars of the second. And T.O. wasn't alone. Chad Johnson mailed Hall of Fame jackets to himself on the sideline. Randy Moss mooned the Green Bay crowd. Steve Smith jawed at cornerbacks before every snap. What the defenses lost in intimidation, the receivers gained in personality. It's hard to ignore the culture-bending arrival of Allen Iverson in the NBA, who, fresh off his 2001 MVP, was showing a generation of athletes that being unapologetically yourself could sell just as many tickets and sneakers as corporate polish. The lesson was clear. Personality was profitable. Trash talk, end zone dances, oversized chains, tinted visors, it was all part of the same cultural current. Fans had enough greatness in the 1990s, now they wanted authenticity, attitude, and spectacle. And so it's easy to see why NFL Street was so successful when it debuted in 2004. But the explosion of wide-out personality didn't happen in a vacuum. It arrived just as the media landscape was changing forever. Trash talk clips opened SportsCenter. "You got mossed" became a household phrase. But every high comes with a reckoning. The next chapter wouldn't be about...
Well, speaking on NFL Street game, I tried to play a shit game. NFL Street, the shit just, it's too fast paced for me. Like, damn, like, I barely got time in the fucking pocket. Like,
big hits of personality. It would be about the NFL.
I got an emulate on this shit.
Reclaiming its image, reigning in its stars, and pulling back the league from the edge of destruction. Between the thrill of the end zone and the tightening grip of authority, the NFL's Attitude Era would finally meet its undoing.
Well, we've tried to be very swift and firm on our discipline this year for both on-field and off-the-field incidents. We've got to do everything possible to raise that bar at every opportunity.
Every era has a breaking point.
Spygate, the Patriots making some cheaters.
For the NFL's Attitude Era, the writing was on the wall by the mid-2000s. The same violence, swagger and spectacle that had carried the league through the early part of the decade became liabilities in the eyes of the owners, the sponsors, and a new commissioner looking to clean things up. In 2006, Commissioner Roger Goodell arrived with a singular focus: protect the Shield. In his eyes, the NFL Shield was more than a logo. It was a brand, a product, and a promise to its sponsors, fans, and players alike. And protecting it meant reining in everything that had
So that's why niggas say Roger Goodell.
defined the league's previous decade. The Attitude Era's rawness, its spectacle, its unchecked physicality, and its diva personalities were suddenly liabilities. The shift was systematic. Helmet-to-helmet shots, blindside hits, and kill shots across the middle weren't highlight material anymore. What had once sold
You get fined for that shit.
VHS tapes was now getting scrubbed from SportsCenter. The infamous jacked up segment vanished, replaced instead by talk of player safety. And so, by 2006, celebrations were outright banned. No more pom-poms, no more Sharpies, no more Terrell Owens standing on the star. The NFL, once feeding off the WWF-style theatre, now wore a new nickname: the No Fun League. Meanwhile, the culture around players was changing too. The birth of social media gave athletes their own platforms. Personality didn't need to be performed in the end zone anymore. It lived on Twitter and Instagram. And if you look at it, the receivers that came next reflected that shift. Gone were the loudmouth diva wide receivers, and in their place came quiet, almost machine-like stars. Andre Johnson, Brandon Lloyd, Calvin Johnson. Incredible athletes, generational talents, but reserved, focused, and far from the mic-grabbing personas of the Attitude Years. The NFL had pivoted. The spectacle was over, and the NFL's Attitude Era was dead.
Look, mama, they got these cameras on me again. Domination, all freaking day. They got these cameras on me again, mama. I know you can't come, you too pretty. Put that in your pipe and smoke.
The NFL's Attitude Era was electric, intoxicating, and undeniably a product of its time. It thrived in a cultural landscape that celebrated excess, violence, and spectacle. From Woodstock 99 to Jackass, the league was a mirror to America's cultural chaos. It was thrilling, it was raw, but it was also unsustainable. Athletes shouldn't have to risk their lives and health for our entertainment, and the league, under Roger Goodell, finally...
Man, it's still football, nigga. You act like concussions went away. Niggas still get hit hard. Niggas still get concussions.
recognize that reality. Today, the NFL's evolved even further. In the post-COVID media landscape, personality has, ironically, gone online. Mike Evans is doing a gaming live stream. Amon Ra has his own podcast. It's all about social media. So yes, the Attitude Era may be dead. But somewhere, in the depths of the internet, in 240p, you can still find it. A pixelated reminder of an NFL which you'll never see again. An NFL with attitude.
Yeah, make sure to comment, subscribe, and all deuces. I don't like how this video don't got a lot of views. This bitch had like 100k, 20k views. Very good video. Amazing video.